Hello everyone, in this video we're going to talk about the law of sines. So in previous videos we've talked about how to solve a right triangle. I'll post that in the cards right now. And to do that we used our trig ratios sine, cosine, and tangent, and our inverse trig ratios of inverse sine, inverse cosine, and inverse tangent. So now we're going to talk about the law of sines, and in a later video we'll do law of cosines. And these two laws can be useful and help us to solve any triangle, not just a right triangle. Okay, so we need to be given one of two things in order for us to use the law of sines, and here they are. Number one says we need to have two angles and the length of any side. So this could be like angle side, or it could be angle side angle. If we have two angles and the length of any side, we can use the law of sines. So we'll do one example like that. Also, we could have the lengths of two sides and an angle opposite one of the two sides. So in that case, we would call it side-side angle, and we'll look at an example of that. So here we have the law of sines. So we have triangle ABC, and the uppercase letters, that is denoting the vertice. And in this case, when we say sine A, sine B, sine C, the capital letter there, that is our angle measure of that given vertice. And then the lowercase, that's the side that's opposite of the angle. So here we have essentially the same thing, just written one way and flipped the fraction to write it the other way. So you can use the law of sines in any one of these ways. So just depending on what information is given to us, we might want to say the sine of A over side length A is equal to sine of B over side length B, if we're given three of those pieces of information. So then we can use that proportion to cross multiply and solve for the missing piece. So let's look at a couple examples. Example number one, and it just tells us to solve the triangle. So look at what we're given. We are given two sides and we are given one angle. So we can't go ahead and find the two other angles because we don't know what they are in relation to 180 degrees, right? So we're going to go ahead and use 70 and 36 because they are opposite of each other. So I can say the sine of 70 over 36 is equal to, and now the other side length that we're given is 18. So I know 18 is there, and now we're going to do the sine of C. So once we do sine of C, we are trying to find an angle measure. So we should think about at the end, we're going to have to use inverse, and we're using the law of sines. So we're going to have to use inverse sine to get our final answer as a degree measure. So now we're going to cross multiply here. So we get 36 sine C equals 18 sine 70. So now over here we can divide this by 36, and now we get sine C is equal to, and now we're going to type this in our calculator. So I'm going to have an overhead view of the calculator, how to do this in a video, and I will post that in the cards right now so you can go and check how I'm actually typing this into my calculator. So we're going to do 18 sine 70, and I'm going to go ahead and hit enter, and then I'm going to divide that by 36. And now in my calculator, I have 0.46, okay? So remember, we're trying to find an angle measure. So does that sound like an angle measure, 0.46 degrees? No, right? So remember, we're trying to find an angle measure, so now we need to do second sine, so we can use inverse sine, second answer to do the inverse sine of our previous answer. Like I said, you can see all these steps in the video that I posted in the cards, and now we hit enter. So now this gives me 28.02, so I'm going to say C, or angle C, is equal to 28.0 degrees, okay? And so now we can add that into our triangle for angle C. We'll say 28.0 degrees. So before we used inverse sine, we said sine of C was about 0.47, okay? And that was in our calculator. And then from there, we did inverse sine to get to here, okay? And we did that in our calculator. All right, so now we have two angles, so now we can find the other angle. So we know angle A is equal to 180 minus 70 minus 28. So we know 70 and 28 is 98, so 180 minus 98, and we get 82 degrees. So we can add that into our triangle, 82 degrees. So now all we have left is side length A, so we can do another law of sines proportion to find that measure. So let's go ahead and use our sine of 70 over 36 again, because we for sure know that is good because that's what was given to us. And now we need to use sine of 82 over A so that we can find the length of A. Once again, let's cross multiply. So we get 36 sine 82 is equal to, and we get A sine 70. So now we want to solve for A. So we divide both sides by sine of 70. And now A is going to be equal to our length, so we don't need to use inverse sine here. So we're going to say 36 sine 82 in our calculator, and then divide that by sine of 70. Okay, and my calculator gives me 37.9, and that is what A will be, 37.9. Okay, so now how do we know we've solved the triangle? We have all three angle measures, and we have all three side lengths. Okay, let's do one more example. Example 2, solve the triangle. Now we have two angles given to us, but only one side measure. So we can go ahead and find angle B. We know that it is 180 minus 115 minus 38. So we can do 115 and 38, and that gives us 153. So 180 minus 153, and we get 27 degrees. So we know angle B is 27 degrees. So now let's use these two measures because they were given to us. And let's say the sine of 38 over 25 is equal to sine of 115 over C, so that we can find the side length of C. So we cross multiply here. We get 25 sine 115 is equal to C sine 38. Divide both sides by sine of 38 so that we can find the measure of C. And so now in our calculator, 25 sine 115, hit enter, divide that by sine of 38, and that gives me 36.8. Okay, and we can add that right here, 36.8. All right, now we need side B. That's all we have left. So let's use sine of 38 over 25 again. And now let's do sine of 27 because that's the angle we got for B, over B. Once again, we cross multiply. So 25 sine 27 equals B sine 38. Divide both sides by sine of 38 once again. And in our calculator, 25 sine 27, hit enter. Now we divide that by sine of 38, hit enter again. And this tells me B is 18.4. So now we can add that right here, 18.4. And we have solved our triangle. So we have all three angles and we have all three sides, okay? And so that is how you can use the law of sines to solve any triangle.